Hello all, I welcome everyone for this new course Computer Organization and Architecture. So myself Prabhavati, Assistant Professor of IT Department, going to handle this course Computer Organization and Architecture. So the main objective of this paper is that you will be able to understand the functional units of digital computer system, and you will be able to understand the memory units and various input output devices and the performance metrics of the computer system. Okay, so here in first unit, so you will be able to gain knowledge on the functional units of the computer system, the bus architecture, and memory operations, and finally you will be learning a case study on instruction set computer architecture. Okay, and in the second unit you will be able to understand how the computer system performs the arithmetic and logic units. So in detail, along with the few algorithms, you will be learning it, followed by the third unit discussing on processor and pipelining. Okay, so pipelining is mainly for improving the performance of the execution of the instructions in a computer. And in fourth unit you will be going to deal about memory systems. Okay, so it's all about RAM, ROM, cache memory, virtual memory. So everything you will be learning in your fourth unit. And in fifth unit, so you will be learning about input output organization and parallelism. So it means input output devices and how to improve the performance of the computer system by means of the concept parallelism. And today we are going to see under the first unit basic structure of computers. So you will be going to see about the functional units. And today we are going to see you will be able to learn the types of computers and some of the common terminologies involved in the computer architecture and the functional units of computer architecture. Okay, so first we will see the formal definition of computer architecture. It is a set of rules that describes the functionality, organization and implementation of the computer system. So mainly it describes the functionalities and design of various units of digital computer systems. It includes computer hardware, which involves electronic circuits, your electromagnetic devices like keyboard, printer, and memory devices like primary memory, RAM, secondary devices, then input output devices. Those are all dealing with computer hardware. Along with that, you will be knowing the instruction set carried out to perform an operation. So it encompasses both architecture and the hardware. Okay, so computer architecture mainly for the you will be learning about the functional and design of various units of the digital computer system. And coming to the computer types, there are wide variety of types which involves from handheld devices to big supercomputers. Okay, so mainly it is categorized as a desktop or laptop computers for general purpose usage, for individual students, for office work, for personal usage. So and of course the cost and performance is always trade-off. When a cost is high for a desktop or a laptop computer system, the performance is high. So when a performance when a computer system whose performance is very low, and of course the cost will also be less. So it is always a trade-off between the cost and the performance. And another type of computer system is workstation. So mainly used for computer aided design, 3D graphics and automation, audio video production. For that purpose, so workstation is used. Okay, whose computing power is much higher when compared to desktop or laptop computer systems. And followed by enterprise systems or mainframe, mainly for organizational purpose to carry out the data, to take a decision where the business runs in different where the business runs in what to say different origin. So to handle huge amount of data, so enterprise system or mainframe are used. Then coming to server computers, so mainly for web-based applications, it is involved in network. Okay, so if we if we are able to if we are able to browse a website, means we are sending a request to the web server, where the server will respond back. So the servers, web servers. Okay, so mainly server is for network based. Okay, one server will be implemented for a number of nodes or the computers, where all the computers can communicate with a single server computer system, where its capacity ranges from wide it ranges wide varieties, high capacity and performance and reliability. High performance and reliability, of course, is there for the server computers. Then coming to supercomputers, it's for high end ranges when compared to server computers. So supercomputers is mainly for using large or enormous numerical calculations involved in weather forecasting, aircraft design, air traffic control systems, aircraft designs. Okay, so supercomputers are used mainly for where the numerical calculations are very large. In that situation, supercomputers are used. And coming to embedded computers, so those are microcontrollers and that are embedded in a machine. Okay, so for example, we can take as an ATM machine. So it's an embedded computer system. So that computer system is dedicated for doing only one purpose. It does the dedicated service. It won't carry out wide variety of job. So embedded computer systems are hidden as a single component in some dedicated machines like ATM, and of course washing machine or fully automatic washing machines. Those are all having embedded computer systems. So these are few common types of computer systems, and followed by we will be going to discuss the main topic of functional units of the computer systems. It is categorized into these varieties. So this is the block diagram for the modern computer system, whose functional units are categorized like input unit, output unit. So combinedly we will be saying as IO unit. So input, output, then memory. Memory is the major functional unit of a digital computer system. And we have the processor. So the processor does it carries all the activities. Okay, ranging from calculation, processing our request, and sending the output. So all the units are controlled by a single unit called as control unit. Okay, so inside the processor we will be having two units, arithmetic and logic unit. So simply we will be saying as ALU and control unit. Okay, so this is that thing we are going to see it today, and in detail each and every unit will be discussing it. So before that, how information is handled by the computer system means, so information is categorized into two ways. One is the instruction, or we could say as a machine instruction, and the other is the data. So instruction it is used to transfer information within a computer system as well as between the devices and computer system. That's in instruction. Okay, it governs the transfer of information between the different functional units. Okay, and of course set of instruction is said to be a program. It carries out some operation for the user, and the operations could be done by a separate functional unit in a computer system called as ALU. Arithmetic and logic unit will carry out the specific arithmetic and logic operations, and for handling those operations we need data, and data are that could be stored in the memory, or yeah, we could pass the data to the computer system directly by means of input devices via keyboard. And of course so some source program itself will act as an data. For example, the compiler will take the entire source program and convert into object code, is it not? So in that situation, source program the entire source program will act as a data. So broadly information for a computer system is categorized into instruction and data. And one more thing we need to know about data or the instruction is, so since computer is a machine, it will understand everything in terms of zeros and ones, which we normally say as binary, is it not? So whatever the information we are passing or whatever the instruction we are instructing the computer, everything will be encoded into machine understandable form called as binary code. Okay, so we have different encoding schemes are available, like BCD, binary coded decimal, 4 bit. So it is a 4 bit. 4 bit means 2 power 4, that is equal to 15. So only 15, its size is of 15, so it means only 15 characters, 15 numbers will be accepted. So our numbers will be represented, for example, to represent 0 in a computer system using BCD code means, so it will be represented as 4 zeros, 0 0 0 0. Likewise, 9 means it will be represented as 1 0 0 1. Okay, this will be decoded as 9. Okay, and we have another varieties of encoding scheme like ASCII, American Standard Code for Information Interchange, and EBCDIC. ASCII is of 7 bit, so it could carry around 2 power 7 is equal to 128 characters, and alphanumeric characters. Okay, so binary coded decimal, this is of numeric characters, and this both EBCDIC and ASCII is of alphanumeric characters. So ASCII is 7 bit and EBCD extended binary coded decimal information character, I think. Please excuse me that I forgot that expansion for EBCD, extended binary coded decimal interchange code or character, I think. So it is of 8 bit in size, 8 bit in the sense 2 power 8, that is equal to 256 characters. Okay, its size is of EBCDIC encoding scheme will accept 256 alphanumeric characters. So in general, so whatever the information we are passing or we are storing, the machine will understand in terms of zeros and ones. Okay, so that it needs a translation, so that translation can be done via BCD, ASCII, EBCDIC, and still wide different encoding schemes are available, and in our topic we will be discussing these things. Okay, and coming to the functional units of our computer system, we have seen about input output system, memory, and processor. So input output is generally, I think, in our day to day life we are using it. Input to give instruction, to give information to the computer system via means of input devices, like some of the devices it is mentioned here, which we are all familiar with this. So keyboard, optical pen, joystick, scanner, barcode reader, these devices will act as an input to the computer system. And here these are monitor, printer, scanner, headphone, these are all acting as an output devices. And here this overlapping section both will be acting this will be acting as both input and output devices. So that's what will be we won't separate input unit and output unit, instead we'll be saying as IO unit. So so IO unit that its main purpose is used to give information, and the computer will process. After processing, the computer will give the output that we are saying as an output unit. Okay, so these are some of the input and output devices available today. And coming to the next functional unit of a computer system is memory unit. So memory, of course everybody will be knowing it. So it is in computer system, memory is the place where all the information is stored. So we could classify the memory into two categories, primary memory and secondary memory. So primary memory mainly, the example is RAM, random access memory, so which is very fast. It could store information, and whatever the information the computer is executing, that information must be only by from the main memory. Okay, so when the system goes off, the content in the main memory will be removed. So that's what we are saying, that primary memory RAM is a volatile memory. It means when the system goes off, the content will be removed in the main memory. So to store the information permanently in the computer system, there comes the secondary storage device. Okay, so whose storage capacity is very large, but of course the speed of the secondary device is very low. Even when we switch off the computer system, the information present in the secondary device like hard disk will be stored permanently. Okay, and coming to the prime memory, as I said, it is fast and program must be stored in memory while processing, and it is made up of semiconductor storage cells, large number of semiconductor storage cells. That's what when the power goes off, the information will be removed in the main memory, and we will be storing information in the main memory in terms of words, and the words will be of 8-bit length or 16-bit length. So bit in the sense either 0 or 1. So binary digit is said to be a bit. Okay, so to access the information which is stored inside the memory, we need something called as an address. So address is the location where the information is stored. We could fetch it or write it into the memory. Okay, RAM is an example for primary memory whose access time is very high. Since it is closely located to the processor, it is high in speed. Okay, so when compared to secondary memory, and of course much higher than the RAM is cache memory. There is a memory called as a cache memory, which is very fast, but its capacity is limited to very small. Its capacity is very small, and its speed is very fast when compared to main memory, since it resides in as a part of a processor. Okay, so here the diagram for RAM is given. It's a 128 by 8. So it means this RAM has the capacity to store 128 words. So for representing 128 words, I think we need 7 address bits. That's what AD7 is here. It means 7 address bits, and the word size is of 8-bit. Okay, so the data stored in the memory can be transferred to the processor for processing via the data bus. Okay, some other chip select signals are there, and whether we are using the memory for reading and writing purpose, that respective control signal must be enabled by means of this read and write signals. Okay, so this is a block diagram for 128 by 8 RAM. Okay, so RAM is the primary memory. And coming to the important functional unit of a computer system is ALU. So ALU is the unit where it performs all the arithmetic and logical operations. Okay, so this is the place where the operations are carried out. So to carry out an operation, it needs an information. So it could either fetch the information from the memory or from directly from the user via the keyboard. Okay, so if the information is stored in the memory, means it need to load the instruction and operands. Operand means values. For example, if we add 5 plus 10, so 5 and 10 are operands. That information must be fetched from the memory and should be loaded into the ALU registers. Okay, so 5 and 10 is said to be operands, and the operation here is add. Okay, so that's the operation code. Here it specifies opcode. Okay, so we need to bring the data from memory or directly from the input device to the processor. So inside the processor only we will be having ALU, where all the operations are performed and the result will be given. Okay, given back to the memory or straight away to the output devices. Okay, and here the processor will uses n number of registers apart from as we have seen about cache memory, secondary memory, main memory, and still there is a memory called as register. Register is also a memory that is built in the processor to store the information while processing takes place in ALU. Okay, which is very high speed when compared to cache. So cache, okay, if we arrange it in a hierarchical manner, the speed, in terms of speed, the register comes first, followed by cache, then RAM, then secondary memory. Okay, and here the status, it indicates it indicates the previous operation. So it indicates something about the previous operations that may be that might be useful for the current operation. And of course it gives the status back to the next instruction also. So mainly ALU is used to perform the operations. Okay, arithmetic and logical operations are carried out in the processor using the ALU unit. And next important unit, functional unit, is control unit. So control unit is a part of the unit in the processor which controls all the activities done by the remaining units like input unit, output unit, memory unit, ALU unit. So it controls all its activities. ALU does arithmetic and logical operations. Input unit provides the input. Output unit, it gives back the result. Memory, it stores the result. So when and where these things should happen, everything is controlled by the control unit. Okay, so timing signals are there that governs all the transactions happening in the computer system. Okay, so that's the purpose of control unit. So it is usually distributed throughout the computer system. It is not a instead of standing alone. Okay, so it is not inside, though it resides inside the processor, it controls all the functional units of the computer system. Okay, and we are at the end of this session, and we could summarize the operations of a computer. So the operations of computers are given in these 4 points. So what it does is, the computer system accepts the accepts information in forms of programs and data through input unit or from the memory. Okay, so after getting the input, what will happen? That input has to be processed for execution. The processing will be happen by the ALU. So once processing is over, the ALU will dispatch the output either to the memory or to the output device directly, and all these operations are purely controlled by a special unit called as control unit. Okay, I think that's it about today's topic. And here I am posting few assessment question based on the things we have discussed so far. I think this is very easy for you to come up with the solution. Okay, so we'll have a quick summary on today's topic. Computer systems functional unit. Okay, so here computer architecture, it is mainly mainly deals with the function and design of the various units of the computer system. Okay, how the units are organized to carry out the information. Okay, so and we have seen about different computer types, like ranges from desktop computer systems to embedded systems. Okay, and the main part of computer system is a functional unit. So functional unit, it covers about input unit, output unit. So combinedly we'll be saying as an input output unit, and ALU, arithmetic logic unit, and CU, control unit. So combinedly we'll be saying as a processor and followed by memory. Okay, I hope you could answer the questions which I have given. And that's it about today's topic. We'll meet you in the next session. Thank you.